ways to drive value in business. And you have to understand how these 5 levers work together. Strategy, operations, financial modeling. How many of you have a 10-year plan? How many of you have a very specific 3-year plan? Okay. You just raise your hand. Stand up. So, 3 years from now, how much bigger are you going to be today?
4 times.
Okay. And last year, how much bigger are you today than last year?
About 60%.
Okay. And next year, how much bigger are you going to be than this year?
You're wanting to double next year.
Wanting to?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
It has to be said that way because we're still implementing the new procedures.
Why?
Mostly trying to get the right medical doctors.
Why does it have to be said that way? Who chooses it has to be said that way? So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your belief that you're going to be 4 times larger than you are today?
I would say 100%.
Huh?
100%.
But your belief on a scale of 1 to 10 about doing it this year isn't 100% because you just dismissed it by saying try.
Fair enough.
So are we going to try to grow by 4 times, or are we going to try to grow by 60% more than we did last year?
How do you do it when you're in the midst of working on what you're developing?
That's a great question. So how can you be so confident that in 4 years you're going to be at 4 times?
Because that's the object that I'm attacking.
Because it's what you desire, it's not what you actually. Oh, good, we got a microphone, so we catch all this. We're being worldwide. So here's the thing. If you grew at 4 times what you're doing today, approximately what is the size of your market?
I don't understand the question.
How big is your market?
I live in Tennessee, Missouri. The market is huge. And it's untapped as far as that goes. There's not many clinics doing it, not very many clinics doing what I do for the district model.
How many clinics do you have?
Right now I have 2 full time.
Okay, and Clinic A and Clinic B, fair to say, are they doing the same?
They're doing different things, and I'm actually learning different things from either clinic. One has an aesthetics that does what we do here, one is more regenerative practice.
Perfect. And then boundaries of where 80% of your patients come from. What diameter do 80% of your patients come from for both those clinics? How far out?
10 miles or less.
Okay. So 10 miles drive time in your city would be what?
It's a small highway, so it's going to be less than that.
Okay. How big could you build that business with 100% certainty in those 2 markets?
How big? As far as millions of dollars per year?
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for you.
How many in here can tell me exactly how big you're going to build your business in the next 2 to 3 years in revenues? How many can tell me how much the market will allow you to build your business in your markets? How many employees will you need when you do that? When you go by 4 hours?
It's going to be twice what we need right now according to the current figures. I have 25, so I'll need 50.
Okay. And how do you validate that?
It's basically, we feel that each person, because we got the
You feel or you know? You understand what I'm doing here? Patient comes in to see you. Doc, I got an issue in my shoulder. And you say, I think I can fix that. Confidence high or low? Low. Okay, so when you're sitting there talking in your breakouts with your employees or your team, and you're saying, I think we're going to grow by 60% next year. Confidence high or low?
I would say it's high. We have done an awful lot to build the infrastructure. We do go by what we have already created, and the current trend moves that direction.
Then why do you say you think you're going to grow? I'm confused now, because if you're that confident, why are you thinking about it versus we're going to do it?
I get your aggressive lifestyle, but the problem really is that because I'm still planning and still creating the future, still developing it, that it doesn't feel 100% real, except I have an object to which I attack.
And what are your reference points? What reference points are you using for all that information?
trending, financial, also infrastructure, the amount of percentages.
This is how every single business owner thinks about their business. Now, thank you. Every single business owner thinks about what they can do next based on their historical reference points. I'm going to share some things with you because this is what your competitors do. So your competitors have thousands of people or hundreds of people that pay scientists. This is Ron over here. He's our chief scientist. We call him the wizard. See, he's the guy that takes millions of dollars worth of knowledge and $500,000 a year of spend with databases, and he tells you exactly where your radius is. He tells you exactly how many opportunities you have based on what somebody else is doing and exactly what you need to do to get there, which is what the corporations have. The problem is they're relying on employees who are not aligned with the business, so they don't really want to do it. I found if I gave that to you, you're going to go crush it. So what we did is we assimilated 100 or 250 of the thought leaders in the industry. And what they said is, we don't want to keep using the supplier brands because they keep buying each other and they keep buying retail and they're going to be our competitor. We don't want to have to use their training programs because right now all the suppliers do all the training and then they're coming in and trying to steal our employees if we don't do all our business with them. So we're letting the wolves in the hen house. We want to have our own business systems because the suppliers say that they do it, but we don't trust them with our finances. We don't trust them with our strategy because they're just looking out for their best interests. So they go through this whole process and said, we want this. So we said, okay, this is what we'll build for you. So over the last 14 years, for independent businesses, we assimilated 250 independent businesses operating with by-function teams. We have 200 employees, and the only thing we care about is them having the maximum market share within their center of influence for every single office that they have, understanding cause and effect. What works, what doesn't work, what messages work, how do they work, how do you deliver them, how do you treat people when the phone rings, how do you engage them when you set the appointment, how do you drive the appointment into the door, how do you converse with those patients, how do you get them to say yes because it's in their best interest, how do you then service and support, flow, conversion, retention, and there's hundreds of elements underneath all three of those and they have to work together. It's like Dancing with the Stars. Anybody ever watch Dancing with the Stars? See, I have 3 daughters. I walk in and I see the show. And I'm like, okay, it's obvious. Who's the professional? Who's the star? Agreed? What happens when I watch the last show? What question do I have to ask? Who's the star and who's the expert? Now, if you were to take a pen and write down all the elements that got them from the beginning to being on the last show, what kind of words would you use? Any ideas? Raise your hand. Or just spit it out. Training? Practice? Coaching? Focus? Somebody choreographing their moves? Communication? Certainty? How many words do we have right now? 9 or 10? Here's the question I'd like to ask you if you wrote all those down, which you didn't. How many of you, if I walked in your office and I was the judge, would see all those words you wrote down come to life in your own practices? If you were to be absolutely honest with yourself, how many of those words are being a focus and intentionality and discipline and accountability every single day? Raise your hand if you think I would see you on the last episode today. Raise your hand. Oh, I like roleplay. Every once in a while somebody puts their hands up, and then I get to go out. It's highly disappointing. It's my favorite part of the whole time. Just kidding. Here's the thing. I put all these owners together and we delivered the tools. Our average business outgrew the sector 3.5 to 15 times their peer groups. We had businesses, in fact, AMI went as part of their due diligence and met with my friend now in Denver, Colorado, Jeff and Matt Wilkin. They started at $3 million with their father in the business. The father wanted to retire, so they had to buy him out. When they bought him out, they were a little nervous running the business, so they joined Auditing. Fast forward 7 years later, we were doing $17 million in revenue, all organic, everything a startup except for one acquisition with a $250,000 business with someone that worked with me in my first business and my second business. And every time I sat down with the husband, he'd say, Brandon, You don't understand my market. Brandon, my market can't do more than we're doing. If it could, I would have done it. Okay. So we buy the practice for almost nothing because it was worth almost nothing. And then we sat down and did a personal, professional, financial goal planning with his wife, who is just the front office. And we said, what's the one thing that you would love to do for the next 3 to 5 years? And she said, prove my husband wrong. So we bought the business for $120,000. We gave her a royalty on all revenues over $600,000. That business has never done less than $1 million. And she's doing the work every day. She's going to talk about how much she did. Just for office. You guys, if I ever hear anybody ever say they're just to this, it's actually offensive to my ears because just the business people are the ones that make everything work. And you got to lean into this. So I created this little equity model. We're assimilating all these thought leaders. Everyone in the industry would say things to them in every meeting. Oh, you drink that Kool-Aid. You're part of that group. You saw our intro video, how much fun. Every 2 years we do a meeting with 12 to 1,400 people. It's an all-team meeting. And we blow their minds. For some of those employees, it's the first time they ever get to travel anywhere. And we make sure that it's a lot of deep learning and it's a lot of fun. And that's how we created, that's why those videos display that, because we do training all over the country as well, 300, 400, 500 professionals at a time. We are moving people to move the business through their teams because they need to do that. Now, what was the consequence? See, when we started this business, just like what you're going to deal with, there was 22 manufacturers selling hearing technology. Today, there's 5. Because the first thing they did is start buying each other. And when they stopped doing that, they started buying our members' competitors and going direct to retail. Then they started working directly with the healthcare companies and selling them directly, shredding the cost and value of the product. And yet our members have the highest selling price in the industry because we've had our own brand for 10 years. We're actually the 6th, we'd be the 5th largest brand. They have the tools, they have the resources, we build digital strategies for them to interface with their patients so they can make great choices. We're not selling things more expensively, we're delivering things with the right expectations to the right people who appreciate and value that. Price is always an issue in the absence of what? And when your competitors, your corporate people, and your healthcare companies are dropping and dropping and dropping the price, what does that immediately tell you about their value proposition? Why would you ever be concerned about what they do? You should always be concerned about differentiating yourself from them. Does that make sense? Yes. So we went out, we were getting a little nervous because our revenues relied heavily on our supply partners. And we were getting nervous, they're disappearing. You can understand that means our business model was struggling because we were buying group economics together as a group. It's the same thing that we're going to be talking to you guys about. Well, in the process of trying to find a key supplier, and the big fear from the providers were, what if we only get it down to one manufacturer? What if no one else will work with us? So I said, let me go out and do a world tour, which I did with my team. Now remember, 35% of our equity structure is owned by our 250 members. See, I work for them. 200 people work for their personal, professional, and financial goals, helping them grow their businesses 3.5 to 15 times their peer group, dominating, owning their market. And they were afraid if that went away, they would lose their edge. Especially since all those manufacturers, all of them except for 1 or 2, are direct competitors now. They bought all their competitors, so now they're selling product that could have a name on it that the manufacturers calling down the street selling for half price. That's complicated. Would you agree? So we did the world tour, and we went out and said, look, we want to engage in long-term supply relationships. And in the process of doing that, there was only, at the time, 6 manufacturers. We had 8 different people that said we'd like to buy your company. I said, well, I would have to talk to my partners. What would be in it for them? And they said, will guarantee, if we spend the money, will guarantee to always supply them. So they'll always have the product and we'll build it into their label. So they'll never have to worry about not having a supplier. That's a good thing, agreed? I said, yeah, but none of our people just want to work with one supplier. That's the issue. So you have to agree that even if we box, that 50% of our members' business can go to whomever they'd like to work with. You can't have it all, because we don't own their business. They own ours. We work for them. Fast forward 2016, I sold Audigy for $151 million, 77 times EBITDA. And yet, not one of our members' business was sold in this process. They still own 100% of their independent business. But we did wire out almost $40 million to every one of our members. In fact, for those founding members in 2004, they made more money at the time I closed the business than their whole practices were doing in revenue when they joined us. And yet they're not obligated. But the funny thing happened is when this happened, all the other manufacturers got scared that they were going to lose an opportunity to sell to all those independent businesses. So then we went around the country and cut supply agreements with every single supplier. So our members are the only group that have access to every supplier in the air space. The opposite of what they would have threatened, and the opposite of what you would have thought. True or false? Now, what did our members keep? They still have 200 employees. They're still outgrowing the marketplace. They still have their autonomy. And it just so happened that some of our members had reached their cycle. 15 years is a long time, so some of them put their businesses up for sale. And in the process, they commanded 3.5 times more than their peer group. Some of them became multi-millionaires. Now imagine where you start, where you're doing $1 million a year in revenue and you're the sole provider, and 70% of all the revenue you're generating, and you have one support staff. Imagine running between 2 locations doing this constantly. Fast forward 10 years later. Imagine having all your family and you've got 5 locations. You're doing $4.5 million in revenue. You haven't physically set foot in any of those locations for 6 years. And you're driving your motorhome with your dying wife all over the country. For 5 years, getting to spend as much time with her as you want. Never worrying about the business and having it growing at 20 to 30% per year over year. And then selling it for $90 million. Imagine that kind of life, because we have example after example after example after example after example. Some of which I can't talk about, like my friends in Colorado. They got a big enough number, they never been after work again. And it all started with an idea or a fear that dad's leaving and we need help running the business. See, fear is sometimes a bigger motivator than opportunity, unfortunately. What I would challenge you with, if you want to own and dominate your space, you want to create value for you want to create value for your team, you want to create value for your community, you can't do it by being fearful. You have to do it by being bold. Would you agree or disagree? Now, this is the benefit of our members. And they're autonomous. They own 100% of their businesses. This was just on top of everything else that was already being done. What about you guys? You have a $19 billion market opportunity. Yet your growth is very low. The average revenue of the average business is sub $1 million. So what's our vision to partner? It's to bring together forward-thinking thought leaders and putting them on a platform that they co-own with AMI and Cardone Ventures. The same thing I did with the independent audiologists. Bringing them the tools, the resources, and the structure to go out and dominate their marketplace and have a voice that's spread all over the country as one voice, but with the autonomy of being an independent business owner, operating and directing the way you want to, but having the tools and resources leading you to the highest value conversations and the highest way to create impact, which is those questions that we talk about, giving you those answers in real time, every single day. So when you say, I want to, we say you could. This is the exact number you can get to in your market if you did these things. And the reason we do that is our technology maps that. The more people in our network, the more we see it in real time, the more we guide and advise through automation on how to do it. The big data that your competitors have. So it's just like audiology. 250 forward-thinking thought leaders that want to dominate on their market. That's exactly what we've agreed that we're going to build. See, I've interviewed over 4,000 business owners, and when I ask them how much are you going to grow next year? They always use, my point was actually this point. They always use reflection point 1A, which is future predictability of growth based on historical results. And you even said that. It's because it's what we did. True or false? 99.8% of 4,000 independent businesses across 160 verticals answered it in reflection point 1A. But there's actually a 1B, which is if you took the top performing people that work for you in your businesses and you had more than one person doing something and you looked at what they were doing, patient flow, how they're converting, how they're retaining, and you map that against everyone doing the same job, you get to see how much elasticity is already in your business. It's just not being captured. Does this make sense? So my dentist buddy, 18 million, wanted to grow to 40 million. He says, I'm going to do it by adding twice as many locations. I said, why are you going to do that? He says, because I'm averaging 1.8 million per location. I said, that's not scale. That's scaling. You have not scaled yet. So instead of that, let's scale your existing 10 clinics. Let's triangulate your marketplace. Let's find the best 3 places to go to. When we get to 40 million, then you go to rapid expansion. He says, how fast can we do it? I said, let's spend the 6 months putting it all together, which we did. And came back and said we could do it in 24 months. Well, we didn't get 40 million, 38.8 million. And he went from 10 to 13. Today he's almost 75 million. Strategy, structure, process. This is what it takes. Now, reflection point 02 is really where you should be making decisions. Imagine in your case if you had a report that showed you reflection point 2, which is if you took the top 20% of the people doing exactly the same thing, so you have 2 different practices, you need 2 different views. You need a view for one practice and a view for another practice. But if you had that view of the top 20% of everyone doing what you're doing in those 2 practices, and you could see exactly what they were doing to own, dominate, and develop their marketplace, and you were given the whole blueprint on what they're doing, how they're training, what they're talking about, what do they say when the phone rings, how do they market themselves, how do they position, blah, 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 and now you go do it, all of a sudden you're in reflection point 2, which is the highest example of everyone doing it in the network. Make sense? 2B is the elite people across all the practices and what they're doing. And you get a benchmark that against your 1 and 1B. 3A is market dominance. Who's created the highest, most leveraged market penetration in the marketplace? And what does that mean from population, drive time, competitive density, and how big and how bad you are at dominating your local market? And what are those numbers? And that's 3A. See, what we believe is as a business owner, your view should be all 3 of these reflection points. Agree or disagree? And yet this is millions of dollars of technology and infrastructure to come together. So it isn't cheap. But the point is when you have it, what you do to accelerate your impact in your local market is dynamically different. This is what AMI has asked us to bring to the equation. See, now when you look at this report, I can actually say, well, here's where you're at, and here's what you're doing. If everyone in your practice performed as your top 10 or 20% of your people, here's how much more revenue you can do. If you perform to your peer group, here's how much more revenue you can be doing, and if you dominated your market, here's how much revenue. So you never say 2 million because I did growth last year and I think I can do it again. You'd be saying we're challenged and pushing ourselves to get to 4.6 million in this location. How do you know that? Because you're at the 80th percentile of impact based on competitive density, market opportunity, strategy, structure, process, and your people aligned with your goals, and you know exactly what that P&L looks like before you ever get there. Now imagine if you had that information versus, I think we're going to do it. Because I hope we can. See the difference? 3 points of integration, culturally, operationally, financially. With everyone, everything, and all you do, you guys got to have a strategy to do this. All these resources have been built out so that you can measure the impact of everything you do. In $1 million audiology practice, my guess is $1 million medical practice like your guys is, and $1 million dental practice, front office, inbound call conversion at 42%, which is the average we're measuring across the spectrum of 1,000 locations. The delta between that and the top 10% of the front office inbound call conversions of 83% represents $280,000 of revenue that's just not coming in your door. Like, it'd be nice to know that number exactly. Would you agree or disagree? What if your front office people had a personal professional financial goal associated with driving the impact of 82%? And you could show them in real time, they could listen to their calls, they could see their scoring, they could see where they broke with the process. They have the training already loaded in their form. When they show up in the morning to do it bigger, better, faster, you can see that they did the training. If you assign training to perform better and somebody doesn't do it, is that a skill or a will issue? What do you do with will? What do you do with skill? So simple when you have the facts. It is equally simple for your team to understand when you have the facts. When you measure everything you do in your practice with these beautiful color reports, which by the way match to this report, so you can see if it's green, you're doing great. If it's orange, you're doing excellent. Green is remarkable, excellent, and then great. These reports just point it out to you. How are we doing? What do we need to work on? If you look at this report, what do you need to work on? Because of all those things across the top of all the different kinds of transactions you can do in the business. How many transactions per patient? How many patients per transaction? What's the value of the transaction per patient? How did they do it? What about when your doctors are seeing the same population? One's converting twice as high as the other one. You want to know that and see what they're doing? See, in our dental practices, the one doctor partner that was generating, they were fighting, so they call us in. They never call us in when things are good. They always call us when things are bad. So we go in, what are you guys fighting about? Well, I'm a little tired. We're 50-50 partners. I do 1.1 million in revenue every year. He does $500,000 in revenue every year. We're both here, and yeah, we split the profits 50-50. Okay, well that's easy. We got a structural issue. So we're going to change the compensation to where you get a percentage of what you produce. And we're going to do a master mentor program. We're going to have you train your associate how you do things. Because, just as a really crude example, after watching them, the associate, when a patient come in and say, I got a cracked tooth. Yeah, you got a cracked tooth. Okay, well, what do I do about it? Well, listen, when this thing breaks, you call me and you come in and we will fix it. Oh, okay, I'll do that. Okay, the other doctor's like, look, I know you travel. I know that you're probably going to schedule some vacation this year. It's going to be the most amazing thing that you've ever done with your family. And how are you going to feel when you get on the airplane flight and peanut that shatters your thing? I got a jerk for minutes. True or false? True. Do you want me to fix it while you're here? Yes, please. And then if there's anything else, can you fix that too? Sure. Both business partners, both dealing with their patients two different ways. One subperforms, the other performs. Does this make sense? It's just identifying how you're communicating, what you're doing as a team, and how you identify best practices and perform, and then you message it. You message it in everything you can do. This is what I love about branding. Screaming from the mountaintop. Right? All the technology platforms for reaching out to consumers and letting them know, blogs and websites and direct messaging, everything we built for our members. They don't have to build anything. It's just done for them to drive appointments into their business. PPF goals, patient processes. What I love about AMI, they've been doing this. They have an infrastructure for this. This is not like it has to be recreated. It's if we all get on the same page and we build the technology, we work together, we can dominate. Then we can deliver it through all the technology and stuff that we've already built. So you guys are connected in real time, all the time, understanding what works and how fast you bring it to market. Then we do the fun stuff. We go find out your competitors, your competitive density, your market opportunity. Where's the best place to grow? Where's the best place to expand? Where's the best place to market? And then we build your algorithm for growth. See, every one of these color bars is the growth from 0 to 100 million. We would do that for the markets with the AMI. So you would have a very clear strategy. What markets do I grow to? What's the fastest way to penetrate it? What are the products, services, and programs I should be offering? How do I message it? How do I expand it? So, just to kick this off, we're going to identify 50 founders in the group. The founders are going to have businesses that are greater than 3 million opportunity in their markets. We're going to bring in another 200 members, independent businesses that have the opportunity to grow and dominate their market. And then we're going to have an associate tier for all the smaller businesses who want to grow and dominate their market. So this is leaders leading leaders, so followers have a blueprint to success. The big picture here is, if you fast forward in audiology today, we have 1,000 locations in the U.S. and we just absolutely dominate every market we're in. And if that's a vision that you guys share, it's a vision that AMI wants to bring to you, and that's why we partner with Cardone Ventures. Our equity model, just like in Odyssey, our business will be owned by 250 independent business owners. We will be working for you. This is an addition. This is like another level from AMI, right? This is an AMI partner program, equity partners. This is what we're bringing to you guys. There's a whole bunch of benefits that might jump out at you. It's going to take a lot more further details, because when someone says, oh, exclusivity, we get our own market. Look, if you're in Chicago, you're not in Chicago. If your boundary is 3.8 miles, 22 minutes, you might get that boundary. Does that make sense? And if you want 6 of them, you get those boundaries. But we have to go and saturate the market that's consistent with your growth objectives. Otherwise, we're holding back markets and inviting your competitors to come into. So we don't want to do that. That's a lot to get through. So, to show our commitment to you guys, and Grant, we're going to have some special things for those that want to be founders, because we have to start somewhere. We can't start with the small businesses. You guys understand, right? The small businesses, they're small, but we don't have enough stuff to study. Does this make sense? So we have to start with the big businesses, and we have to go study them and find out exactly how, what, when, where. You got 2 different practices. We can't treat them both the same. We got to go find another 30 or 50 practices that are like your practice. We need to study, we need to build these systems and these tools, which is exactly what the team's going to be doing over the next 6 to 9 months. I think we have a VIP reception at lunchtime for those that are larger businesses that we want to talk to about the potential of being founders. This is part of our team for Cardone Ventures. Grant, obviously, he's speaking right now, or he'd be calling in. Myself, Mike Howard, my Chief Financial Officer, he's been the CFO of a billion-dollar company. Amazing, remarkable guy, M&A activity, global. And he happened to be the first manufacturer that I convinced. He was the CFO of the first manufacturer I convinced to do business with me in 2004, even though his CEO said no. And within 36 months, we became 50% of their total domestic business. And when they sold to one of the global manufacturers, that's how come at that time we added 2 new suppliers. So he's been with us the whole time on both sides. And he'll tell you I'm a pretty good negotiator. You should appreciate that. Natalie, Miss Natalie right here. You've got Ron Bear, who's over here, Heather, who's here, Buck Weiss, who's here, and then Aaron's at home building maps and numbers and forecasts and financial plans as we speak. So that's the team, and I am happy. We have 15 minutes. I'm happy to open up any questions you might have. Anybody want to do role play? We gotta have questions. We gotta have role play. Let's do that. Let's do the 30-second challenge. Let's do anything. Yeah, over here.
3.5 million potential in the market share. Is that the current revenue of 3.5 million?
Well, so for founders, I think our cutoff is anything currently over 2.5 million, just so that we can isolate it down. And then members, equity members, would be something between $1 million and $2.5 million. And we've done this. We've found in the past that people that come in as general members, before we finish the equity tier, their business grows enough that they can move into the founders. Any other questions, comments, concerns? It's like the biggest, best news I've ever delivered today. And nobody has anything to say about it. Do you guys like this idea?
Yes!
Would you guys like to have your own resource with AMI that allows you to dominate your market and find and attract the right kind of people and learn how to bring them into your system and keep them? Yeah.
What are your goals?
Here you go.
What are your goals?
No. I hear you.
What are your goals with joining AMI and getting these founders and getting these members?
Yeah, so my goal is market domination. I take the Warren Buffett strategy. It's my Grant. Grant's building a huge empire in real estate, right? And he's teaching people how to create wealth versus people that are just letting somebody else handle their money and they don't know what to do with it. I'm a huge investor in that as well. I'm probably the second largest investor in Fund 4. I believe in real estate. I have $100 million in a partner and $100 million of commercial real estate. But the Warren Buffett methodology of business investing is not to do what the banks have all done, which is private equity. They invest in you and then they sell you in 3 to 5 years, which is what happened to me. So I'm a little burnt to that, right? It's still a little burnt. So we want to invert that whole process. Warren Buffett's like, why would you ever sell something to trade? just build it and build it and build it and build it. So what Grant and I have is our partnership, our equity fund. We partner with businesses, which I'm going to go out with Grant, and we're going to partner with hundreds of different industries and build you guys, we have clear line of sight to a $650 to $1 billion market valuation. My ultimate goal is, why would you sell it if you guys are all winning together? The flip side is, in Audigy's case, we needed to lock in supply partners. We got to a place where we matured, the market was at risk, and we needed to pursue our options. So that triggered the sale. Otherwise, I was happy owning Audigy because we were making a lot of money as a group, right? But my ultimate goal is to bundle 10, 15, 20 different verticals that we're working with and take them all public. So that as business owners, you guys could sell 10% of your equity. See, one of the things we don't talk about is if you're a $2 or $3 or $4 million business, you're only going to have access to 3 to 4 times EBITDA multiples. But if you're a $1 billion company, they're trading at multiples of 12 to 15 times. If you're a public company, you can be trading at 22 times. So if you took 100 $2 million businesses, 1,000 $2 million businesses. Now you're, what, $2 billion? They can sell 10% of their business into the public vehicle and get as much out than they would get for selling all their business. There's $2.5 trillion today that's looking for investment. $2.5 trillion, Warren Buffett's sitting on almost $100 billion. They can't find things to invest in that are big enough to protect the investment dollars. So that's an issue because today it's $2.5 trillion. There is $30 trillion of wealth transfer happening in the next 9 years, going to family offices, 80% of it. And those family offices are going to have a mandate that they have to invest in things that are greater than some $1 billion because that way it protects the family's estate, right? Because they don't want the money going away. They can't do risk investments. So my goal is to take all the independent businesses that I'm passionate about, and I have a list of about 100 of them, and bring them into an ecosystem where they dominate their marketplaces so we are known for the highest quality businesses, and then bundle them all up and take them public and give staged liquidity to the business partners all the way down at the clinic level. That's going to be worth 10 to 15, 20 times more value to them than they would ever find otherwise. That is my big game, and then we hold those enterprises forever and just keep building them and building them and building them. Does this make sense to you guys? That is my ultimate strategy. In the event that we have a supplier issue or we have a challenge to our overall economic opportunity, or how about this? Individually, you're not going to hire your own lobbyists to pursue your goals. We have lobbyists that we use for our members. And our lobbyists would do things differently than the association because there's 2 associations and they have different perspectives and opinions about it because they're all educators. So they are actually doing things that damage the independent business. So they can't trust them. So being able to have a voice and be able to have the infrastructure to support your business objectives and your passion is very, very important. Somebody else has it. Sorry, that's a good question, so I wanted to hear. All right, I'll say it for you. How much money are we going to make you in the process? I mean, this is fit right into that. How do we make our money? So that's a great question. All these programs cost something, right? And so we were smart enough to run the business where we have a profit margin on everything that we deliver, just like a public company. So public companies that are growing and scaling allocate about 22% of their revenue to G&A. All the people they hire to build all the stuff that are non-clinical based. So we try to budget all these programs, so we're running about a 22% margin, so we can bring it to you. In addition to that, there'll be a whole bunch of new things we bring to you, like I've got $10 million of technology that we don't have to build today in my design. So we'll be able to deliver things bigger, better, faster, at less cost, because over the last 15 years I've built a lot of these things. There will be lots of different ways to monetize the relationship, and they'll be on programs, they'll be on registration fees to go to events, they'll be on signing up for strategic business unit support and help, and it'll be on product. To the extent that we can create our own brand and our own product line, we'll have a margin in that, because the bigger we get, the more we can extract value from somebody else. I built Audigy, 60% of our revenues were coming from third-party suppliers. Our members were not paying. I think that's important to know. That is the core of our strategy. Find the areas where we can bring things to market, where we can all share in that, and then you can capture the retail side of the market. Does that make sense? It's about being, it's lots of little dollars on lots of things that equate to enough dollars to do what we need to do and run it at the top. And our members that are shareholders, like our members in Audigy, they used to say, We did quarterly distributions every 3 years, so they were making money on the profit we were making because they're partners. Then when we sold the business, we wired out, it was like $40+ million. For some of them, it was bigger than any money they've ever made in their practices. So we share, those dollars are shared based on the success of the business. And the partners have quarterly transparency because if we're making money, we've got to do quarterly distributions. Does that make sense? So it's an ecosystem where we all see what we're doing.
You said we all pull it up and then
I can't hear you, sir.
no, you said that we all pull it up and then go public with it. Somebody else is going to be owning our practices?
You said we all kind of pull up our clinics and stuff and we go public with it later, and you sell, let's say, $150 million, whatever you did over there.
That business did not sell anything from our members' business.
So we still own it.
They own 100% of the business. There was no involvement with them in that transaction. They got the benefit of the transaction, but they.
When you go public with it, who's winning?
Well, you would that just like when someone came to me and wanted to buy all my mini storages, they're like, hey, we want to buy your mini storages. At the IPO time, you can sell 20% of the value of your mini storages. You have to give up the earnings over and above what you're doing, and then sell that was worth more than my mini storages. I didn't do it because my mini storages were still growing significantly. So this is very complicated stuff. I think the biggest thing I need to say to you is our model does not force any independent business owner to do anything. To the extent that they want to stay part of the group, we had some owners when we sold a couple of them that said, hey, we just want to do our own thing. They just resigned. But they don't get the sale for proceeds. Does that make sense? So you can't have it always. You're either in or you're not. You're either a client, you can be an associate and have no obligation at all. But when the business becomes worth $1 billion, you're not giving any of that value. The sale was a lottery. It had zero contractual obligations to any of our members' businesses. I think it's important to stress that. Even if we were public, the structure would be, if we actually went public, there would be a little different complication. You would have to have all commitment. But in this particular case, they had to figure it out.
Just on a tactical level, what were some of the changes that happened in the audiology clinics when they got on board with you?
A tactical level, what were the changes? What were the changes in the audiology centers saw?
I asked that because we all run our clinics based on a model, but we bring obviously individualized care in our offices. And looking at what you guys did in audiology, how did you streamline some of the things, or what were some of the changes that they noticed on the ground?
Yeah, great
Not
question.
talking finances.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did is we took our elite providers and we put them through workshops here's the thing to understand. We found the commonalities. So you have your unique you, and then you have the commonalities. The problem is when your only perspective is your own, you think everything's unique. So we were able to document about 70% of all the things people did were common, and the 30% were unique. Just understanding that allowed us to train the 70% to everybody so much more impactfully. But it also then brought to light the 30% that was unique and how to train that to people, because otherwise it gets blurred in. And then there were things people were doing that just had no value. They think it's unique, but it doesn't actually train. So over time, it's finding the commonalities. So everything is about finding commonalities and then leaning into those commonalities, and the more people that are involved and the more commonalities, the more you realize they're not common. Or the more you realize they're common. Then you have to decide, operate within the degrees. If you're saying something one way versus saying the same thing differently and that has a higher impact, then you have to decide, do I want the higher impact? It's cultivating, and it's relationships, and it's pointing to facts, and it's pointing to information, and a lot of it is built on peer-to-peer reviews. It's not us coming in as outsiders. The best thing, we don't know anything. All we know is that we don't know anything. What we do know is we need to know something. So if there's a bunch of things working, we need to understand what those things are, find the commonalities, and then see how well are those choreographed, and if they're not, we need choreographed. Then we need to bring them back to it, just incrementally every year we go. Then we digitize the whole patient experience. So check this out. The average top providers, top 10%, were doing about $480,000 a year by themselves. Today, we have 130 providers doing between $1 million and $2 million and a half in their first, second year out of school. Because now when we only train on the digital systems that interface with the patients. So and if a patient has an objection, you push the I button and say, that's a great question, it's one we get all the time. Because we know that objection comes up at that point in time. So now training and onboarding the kids that are used to using digital technology, they're trained in 2 days versus, sitting there role playing and not understanding contextually the things they don't know where it fits in. Or watch me, and they're sitting there going, look, you said I'm an adjunct professor, I've been in business 40 years, I know my shingle out there, I know every president in the country, and that's why you should work with me. Okay. And then the person in the training goes, okay, I'm not an adjunct professor, I haven't been doing this, I don't know the presidents, I don't have a clue what to say, I'm completely screwed. If that's what it takes to help a patient, I can't do it. You ruin their belief in seconds. And I know that because we've trained over 1,000 people.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So, I think there's probably a lot of questions on what the next step is as far as being a member or an associate. What does that look like so we can learn more about how this evolves?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we wanted to introduce this to you guys while you're here. We are going to be coming out with more and more detail. It will get granular. This isn't our first time doing it. We've done it in dental, we've done it in audiology, we've done it in some other areas. So we are going to inundate you with information and knowledge and create an FAQ and all that. It's just we're moving at kind of warp speed to get the partnership done. There's a lot of technical aspects of it. There's going to be a bazillion questions of which we want to have an FAQ on all of it. But I think this point of this was just introducing the concept to you and committing to you that pretty much anywhere in the country, if you tell me where you're from, I can tell you who we work with in that town. And I'm more than happy to set a dinner up with you. So, there's Nashville. We work with a couple different people in Nashville. I've been for 20 or 30 years, and we've quadrupled the size of their business. You go to Baltimore, Larry Hutto, the guy that was $1 million, doing 60% of his own revenue, that has 5 locations, doing 5 million. He's in Baltimore, we're in 5 cities. We're all over the place. So all those questions we won't answer because they're going to just continue to go on. I can stand up here and you guys can think of new questions every minute. I appreciate that. Did I answer your question?
Not really.
Well, give me your best question.
What's our next step to engage you into?
We are going to reach out to each and every one of you. We're going to reach out to every one of you and send you information on this and invite you to have a conversation. The size level of the market